So the first thing we said is BYOD a threat or an opportunity for FM? For those in the audience who don't know what BYOD is, Lawrence, it's bring your own device to work. And we were wondering on this topic, how many companies actually do this? Do companies see BYOD as a threat to their culture, to their organisation? Are there really any advantages to people bringing their own devices to work? And I put the last one in, is it an age thing? So John, what do you think about BYOD then?
Thanks, Chris. It's a pretty common question that we're always posed. FM in general, historically, it's always been about having this ruggedized device. And ultimately, you've always had the workplace with the big unit attached to the belt. But then over this side, you've got the consumable units that the guys are having to work with, in terms of texting and Twitter and so forth. The two are now actually merging. So we see it as being a very common, excuse the pun, evolution into where mobility is going. But ultimately, the bigger question is, are IT ready for bring your own devices? It's very common now that actually they won't authenticate anyone who's bringing their own device into the corporate workplace. So then you can't start to actually access the applications and so forth that you want to make available to your workforce.
So I greatly agree with that. I would like to add one thing to it. I think BYOD is really critical for FM to succeed. I think in general, where you see IT staff struggling is basically two things. It's privacy, information privacy and security. So that's crucially important that they get that in place. And then what you will see is when our workers, the workforce, the people in our workforce are going to work in more flexible ways in different locations, we have to realize that already half of their workplace is already virtual. We do the other 50% in facilities management in terms of physical facilities, which is basically, we can drive that BYOD by providing the type of workplace services to our employees that they will be using to create a better workplace environment, that they will bring them around the workplace in more efficient ways. So it's crucially important.
Jeff, what do you think of the threats?
I think the threats are mainly on the IT side. I think you've got a culture of protection in most industries, and that's quite rightfully so. You're protecting your data, you're protecting your capital. So you've got to make sure you have an IT structure that's fit for purpose before you even consider that. But there are advantages. One of the main advantages, I think, is really on usability. Most people like their own device. They buy it for the features and functions that they see as beneficial to them. And as long as you can provide applications that are agnostic and will fit on that device, there'll be a lot of productivity benefits to be gained from using a device which most people are comfortable with.
Steve, do you know any companies that actually do it?
I'm sure there are plenty. Rather than address that specific question, I would say that I think we're all obsessed with our mobile devices. I can see people on them now, they're making notes, and we sit on trains using our mobile devices, and I think it's a great opportunity of getting buy-in and employee engagement on a constant basis with what's happening within our FM environment and beyond in the businesses. So I think it's a great opportunity from that perspective. And although there are many security issues that we have to get through, and we know that iOS and Android are slightly behind on that in comparison to Windows mobile devices, there is an absolute opportunity for much more employee engagement. So it's something that we should be embracing and moving forward with.
Joe, is it an age thing?
That's a difficult question, Chris, really, isn't it? Because I think I brought the average age down on the panel, so... No, I think that in many respects the tablet devices are actually more targeted at the older generation, if I can say it, than some of the younger generation, and I think those that haven't been so easy to adapt to PCs have adapted to tablet devices far more easily. So no, I don't think it's necessarily an age thing, but it has been a better take-up at tablet device level than it probably has PC.
I think one of the things that we also need to take consideration of is the fact that we're rapidly moving towards being a free agent nation. We're not going to be employing employees as we historically have. And in California, 75% of the workforce, and these are people who work for Microsoft and IBM and Apple and Boeing and companies like that, they are self-employed. They do bring their own devices, and we have to recognise that that's going to be increasingly the case in the UK and embrace that. They're not necessarily permanent employees. They might be working 1, 2, 3 days a week for you and for someone else.